Watts Riots. Remember it like it was yesterday. First, just a little backstory. My parents are not from California. My dad was from Chicago, and my mom was from Arkansas. And they had moved out independently to California to seek a better life. I think part of the history of the country, especially of California and western states, is people moving from the South or from back east. My father got here as a teenager, and he enlisted in the Navy and went through World War II. My mother came out here later as a teenager going to college, living with a lady doing domestic work for her while she pursued her degree. They met during that time, my parents. I said all that to say, Los Angeles, Central Avenue, and all of that, which was a little before my time, it was during their time, but it was a very vibrant, hip place. Clubs, nightlife, stores, living. And what is now Nickerson Gardens, that area was originally built for GIs coming out of the war. So they would have subsidized, free, if not free, close to free housing while they pursued their education. It didn't start off as a, let's put all the black people here and we'll have the ghetto thing here. Even if it was predominantly black during its time. So my parents lived there. Then after they got their degrees, they taught in that area. So I was not unfamiliar with Watts at all. I knew the Watts Library, the fire station right next to it. I used to go to the Watts Library. My dad taught at Grape Street Elementary School, which is right in the heart of Watts. My mom taught at both 93rd and 99th Street schools, again, what is now South Central Los Angeles. But my dad was right there in the heart of Watts. So even though I didn't live right there, they had lived there. And we had moved a little bit further south, to what had become Gardena. But even before we moved there, when we were a little closer in, I remember all those places. All right. I said all that to say, when the Watts riots happened, it was close. Close enough to smell the fire, close enough for the ashes to still be dropping. They weren't rioting in, we'd already moved to Carson, edge of Gardena. We were already there. But it was a very frightening experience for me as a child, because it was one of the few times that I experienced in America what I think that people experience in many other countries and cultures now and have throughout time, which is anarchy. Anarchy is a very scary place. Anarchy is scary because I remember there was this feeling like, let's go inside, sort of lock your doors and that. But you know, even as a child, if the things I see on TV start happening on my block, the doors and the windows are not going to stop it. There's wholesale rioting and violence at the most extreme level. A lot of the shops that would be on TV, I'm looking at TV and watching shops burn. I know those shops. So it's like where my dad used to get his hair cut. There's hey, that's right over, that's the hamburger stand over there. That's the taco stand. And the riots, both riots, the ones, and I guess was 65, and then the next riots when I was more than grown. I was in the second half of my grown-up career. changed the city, the dynamic of the city, Gardena included. Even though Gardena wasn't a part of the Watts riots, it still affected the entire city in a mental and spiritual way that I can't exactly explain, but I'll try. The bottom line of it is that it scares you. It makes you more on guard. There's a reason why people are willing to drive an hour and a half in traffic both ways, either way, to live in suburbs and whatnot. It's because that's a fearful place to be. No one wants for themselves or for their children. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how many guns you have in your house. No one wants to be threatened that way. So there have been major exoduses post the riots. They were already happening, but the riots made them go like, poof, like the big bang of exodus. So downtown was never, to me, the absolute changing point for downtown Los Angeles was the first Watts riots. That was it. People and things, businesses, money. I remember my dad used to say to me when we drive on the Harbor Freeway, coming back from one places that has stayed as a great bastion of strength and culture, which is USC, University of Southern California, right in South Central Los Angeles. They haven't moved, they've stayed it out, expanded, and they're a great part of our city's story. But I was coming back where I used to take piano lessons and swimming lessons from there. We would come back on the freeway, and he used to say, that if they gave the city to black people and other minorities, we're talking about black people in particular, and he's a black man talking, he said, if they gave us the city tomorrow with the keys, it'd fall apart in a week. Because we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to run a city like that. We haven't been educated and involved enough in the process for us to be able to truly man the post and do the jobs. A lot of people talk about respect, and I want this, and I want 40 acres, and other things. What you really need is inclusion and enough of the process to be able to know how to do things so that you are a contributor, a competitor. And we didn't have that. That's the backstory to much of the cultural things that have happened in our cities with inner cities, black families, ghetto fabulous, Hispanic, Mexican, reassumption of space. Talk about gentrification. If there's one thing I could communicate through my experience that was really great about Gardena when I was there, is that it was inclusionary. You have to include people by hook or by crook in a totality of a process. People have to get in trouble for the same things. They have to get second chances for the same things. They have to have opportunities to make money. They have to have safe places for groups of boys to be and do things that groups of boys do, or groups of girls, groups of people. Have to have social, economic, not parity, but inclusion. And that was the beauty of Gardena from, I'd say, at least from the 69, 70, probably through 76, 77, 78. I heard there were a lot of problems at Gardena after I left. Not immediately after I left, but I mean, in subsequent years. gang shooting, disconnect between faculty, administrators, and students, student issues and problems. And that's part of, I guess, what happens in cultural development. Sometimes you can't manage all of those things. But I came through at a time in Gardena when it was almost a model for how things could be. From a lot of different aspects. And I wish that experience for any and everybody. Everybody I know who came through Gardena and Gardena High School during that time, not everybody, but the majority of the people are some of the most well-adjusted, just living their lives type of people that you would want to know. And I will be forever thankful and respectful and grateful for my experiences there. And if there's anything I can ever do or participate with now that I'm starting at that stage of my life to be wanting and able to give back in that way, I'm first in line, man. Somebody called me to play at the Gardena Jazz Festival. In fact, a good friend of mine, Cornelius Mims, Corny called and says, "Will you come sing 'Boys Are Back'?" And we'll do it. I said, "Man, I'll come set up the stage." I have that much respect for the community and the experience and the opportunities provided. And again, I'm here to testify to the fact that they happen and wish them for others.